Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we will talk about the absolute mind-blowing twist at Il Giardino where Sheila collapses, gets a terminal cancer diagnosis, and completely destroys Deacon and Taylor's engagement. I am literally shaking right now. I cannot even begin to process what we just witnessed on our screens because the writers of The Bold and the Beautiful just pulled off one of the most insane, emotionally devastating, and completely out of left field plot twists I have seen in my entire life of watching this show. And you guys know I have been watching since the literal 1990s. I have seen people come back from the dead. I have seen people fall into vats of acid. I have seen people get shot in dark alleys, but this is on a completely different level. I am typing this up at 2 in the morning because I cannot sleep. My brain is going a million miles an hour, and I just need to vent to people who actually understand the sheer gravity of what just went down between Deacon, Taylor, and Sheila. So, let us just start from the very beginning of this absolute train wreck of an episode. Deacon Sharp, a man who I previously thought had at least 2 brain cells rubbing together, decides that the best way to celebrate his new, highly controversial relationship with Taylor Hayes is to throw a surprise engagement party. Wait, let me repeat that. A surprise engagement party. And where does he decide to host this magical romantic event? At Il Giardino. Yes, the exact same restaurant that he co-owns with his soon-to-be ex-wife, Sheila Carter. The same restaurant where Sheila basically lives, works, and breathes. I mean, is Deacon actually out of his mind? Does anyone else feel like this was the most tone-deaf, insensitive, and frankly dangerous move he could have possibly made? Because let us be real for a second. Sheila just agreed to a divorce. She just promised Deacon that she would walk away peacefully, that she wouldn't go wild, that she wouldn't do anything to land herself back in prison. She literally told him she was trying to accept a single future. And how does Deacon repay that tiny shred of growth from a known psychopath? By throwing a massive, public engagement bash in her literal territory. I was screaming at my television. I was like, Deacon, you are poking the bear. You are not just poking the bear, you are slapping the bear in the face with a pizza crust. And the setup was just so incredibly extra. Deacon had the whole place decorated, the lighting was all romantic, and he had gathered people around to make this grand declaration of love. Taylor walks in, looking absolutely stunning, by the way. I have to give it to her, she looked gorgeous. But she also had this look of total shock and, let's be honest, a little bit of smugness. Because Taylor has been fighting for a win for so long. She has lost Ridge to Brooke about 1 billion times. She has been the runner-up for decades. And now, finally, a man is choosing her loudly and proudly. Deacon grabs the microphone. He literally grabs a mic in the middle of the restaurant. And he starts pouring his heart out about how Taylor is the love of his life, how she saved him, how they have this undeniable connection. And then he drops the bomb. He announces that they are getting married. Not just getting married, but a May wedding. A May wedding! That is literally next month. I was sitting there clutching my pearls because the ink is not even dry on the divorce papers with Sheila, and this man is already planning a spring wedding with the woman who is supposedly Sheila's best friend. I can't even deal with the audacity. But here's where the scene transitions from a cheesy soap opera romance into a literal psychological thriller. Because the camera pans, and who is standing just behind the slightly cracked door of the back office? Sheila. Of course it's Sheila. Because she is always lurking, she is always listening. And you guys, Kimberlyn Brown deserves an Emmy for this exact moment. The way her face fell, the way her eyes just hollowed out, you could physically see every single hope, every single delusion she was still clinging to just shatter into a million pieces. Because earlier, she was still trying to convince Deacon that they could get past this. She was still holding on to that tiny microscopic chance that he would realize Taylor was just a phase and come back to her. But hearing him announce a May wedding over a microphone to a room full of cheering people, that was the final nail in the coffin. I was bracing myself for the classic Sheila Carter reaction. I was fully expecting her to kick the door open, pull out a gun, or at least that pizza cutter she was waving around in Taylor's office last week, and just start holding people hostage. I mean, that is what she does. She gets hurt, she gets angry, and she gets violent. I was sitting on the edge of my couch yelling, "Run, Taylor, run!" But she didn't attack. Instead, something was horribly, horribly wrong. The audio design in this scene was brilliant. They muted the sound of the party and amplified Sheila's breathing. It was this heavy, ragged, terrifying, gasping sound. You could see her clutching her chest, her knuckles turning white as she gripped the doorframe. Her vision started to blur. They did that camera trick where everything goes out of focus and spins. I initially thought, okay, she's having a panic attack. The betrayal is just too much for her to process. And then she stumbled forward. She pushed the door open, completely disoriented. She stumbled right out into the middle of the dining room, right into the center of Deacon and Taylor's perfect, happy moment. The entire restaurant went dead silent. The music stopped. The cheering stopped. Everyone just froze, staring at the town pariah looking like she was about to drop dead. And then she did. She literally collapsed. Her eyes rolled back, her knees buckled, and she hit the floor of Il Giardino with a sickening thud. She crashed into a table on her way down, sending plates and glasses shattering everywhere. It was absolute chaos. I hate to break it to you, but my first thought was exactly the same as Hope Logan's. Because Hope was there, standing in the crowd, having just defended her father to Steffi earlier that day, Hope has been trying to be supportive, but she is no idiot when it comes to Sheila. Deacon and Taylor instantly dropped to the floor. Deacon is screaming her name, Sheila, Sheila. Taylor, to her credit, immediately goes into doctor mode. Even though she is a psychiatrist, she still has medical training. She's checking her pulse, yelling for someone to call 911. The panic in Deacon's voice was so real. You could tell in that moment, despite everything, he still cares about her. He doesn't want her dead. But Hope? Oh, Hope was having absolutely none of it. Hope steps forward, looking down at Sheila's unconscious body, and she actually says it out loud. She says, "Don't fall for it, Dad. She's faking it." And honestly, I cheered. I literally clapped my hands in my living room because finally someone is using their brain. I mean, let's look at the history here. This is a woman who faked her own death by cutting off her own toe and pretending she was eaten by a bear. A bear! She has faked illnesses. She has worn hyper-realistic masks. She has manipulated every single person in Los Angeles. Why on earth wouldn't she fake a medical emergency to ruin the exact moment her husband proposes to her rival? It is literally page 1 of the Sheila Carter playbook. Hope is standing there, furious, telling the paramedics who arrive that they need to check her for fake blood, telling Deacon that this is just another manipulation tactic, and I was so on Hope's side. I was nodding along, thinking, yeah, Sheila is going to get to the hospital, wink at the camera, and then sneak out the back window. So the ambulance takes her away, sirens wailing. Deacon insists on going with her, leaving a completely shell-shocked Taylor standing in the middle of her own ruined engagement party. And this is where the episode just takes a massive, dark, and incredibly depressing turn. We cut to the hospital. The sterile, cold waiting room. Deacon is pacing a hole in the floor. Taylor arrives shortly after, trying to be supportive but clearly on edge, probably wondering if Sheila is going to jump out of the hospital bed and strangle her. Hope is there too, arms crossed, still rolling her eyes, still waiting for the doctor to come out and say it was just a panic attack or a stunt. But then the doctor comes out, and his face is grim. Like really grim. He pulls Deacon aside, but Taylor and Hope are standing right there. And the doctor says the words that I don't think a single fan in the bold and the beautiful universe ever saw coming. He says it's not a panic attack, it's not a stunt. Sheila has cancer. Not just cancer. Terminal, inoperable, late-stage brain cancer. I stopped breathing. I literally paused the TV and just stared at the screen for a solid 5 minutes. Brain cancer. Terminal. Inoperable. Are you kidding me? Is it just me? Or is everyone losing their minds over this? They're actually killing off Sheila Carter? For real this time? Not a bear, not a cliff, not a shooting, but a biological, unstoppable disease? The doctor explains that the tumor is massive. It's located in a part of the brain that makes it completely impossible to operate on without killing her instantly. He says the symptoms, the hyperventilating, the blurred vision, the sudden collapse were a result of the tumor pressing against critical areas of her brain, exacerbated by extreme emotional stress. Meaning, Deacon's engagement announcement literally triggered the collapse. And then the doctor drops an even bigger bombshell. He says the tumor has likely been growing for years. Years! Do you know what this means? My brain immediately started connecting the dots. If she has had a massive tumor pressing on her frontal lobe for years, does that explain her completely unhinged behavior? Does that explain why she shot Finn and Steffi in the alley? Does it explain why she has been acting so erratic, so desperate, so completely devoid of rational thought? Are the writers actually trying to give Sheila a medical redemption arc? I am so torn on this. On one hand, I hate it when soaps use brain tumors to excuse terrible behavior. Remember when they did that with Thomas Forrester and the mannequin? Oh, he wasn't crazy, he just had a brain bleed. It feels like a cop-out. But on the other hand, this is Sheila. She is the ultimate villain. If they are going to write her out, if Kimberly Brown is really retiring or leaving the show, giving her a tragic, unavoidable death where she's finally seen as a victim of her own biology, is kind of brilliant. But wait, I am getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to the characters' reactions, because this is where the true tragedy of the episode unfolds. Deacon's reaction absolutely broke me. Sean Kanan acted his heart out in this scene. You watch all the air completely leave his body. He stumbles back against the hospital wall, sliding down until he's sitting on the floor, his head in his hands. He is sobbing. Real, ugly, gut-wrenching sobs. Because despite the fact that he fell in love with Taylor, despite the fact that he was so desperate to divorce Sheila, he loved her. He was the only person in the world who truly gave her a chance. He married her, he shared a life with her, and the guilt he is feeling in that moment, it was radiating off the screen. He knows that his actions, his public betrayal, triggered the collapse that revealed her death sentence. Hope is standing there, completely frozen. The color drains from her face. She goes from being the cynical, angry protector to just a terrified daughter watching her dad fall apart. All her theories about Sheila faking it vanish in an instant. You can see the regret in her eyes for yelling at an unconscious dying woman. And then there is Taylor. Oh, Taylor. My heart aches for her, but at the same time, I am so frustrated with her storyline. Taylor stands there, listening to this diagnosis, and you can see the exact moment she realizes that she has lost. Again. Because Deacon stands up, wipes his tears, and looks at Taylor. He doesn't even have to say the words, but he says them anyway. He tells her, I can't do this. I can't marry you. Not right now. Not in May. Not while she is dying. He tells Taylor that he is putting the wedding on hold indefinitely. He tells her that he has to be the one to care for Sheila in her final days because she has no one else. Finn wants nothing to do with her. Steffi would probably throw a parade if she found out Sheila was dying. Ridge would buy the fireworks. Deacon is the only person in Sheila's corner, and he refuses to let her die alone in a hospital bed or a hospice facility. He is going to take her home. He is going to be her caretaker. And Taylor? Taylor just nods. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She doesn't throw a fit. She just has this look of utter, profound defeat because this is the story of Taylor Hayes' life. I know some people are loving this, especially the Brooke Logan fans who hate Taylor, but personally, I think this is incredibly tragic. Taylor has spent her entire adult life being second best. She was second best to Brooke for decades. She finally finds a man who puts her first. A man who literally buys a ring and announces their wedding to the world. And what happens? The universe steps in and gives his ex-wife terminal cancer, forcing him to choose her anyway. Taylor cannot compete with a dying woman. She knows that. If she tries to fight for Deacon now, she looks like a monster. If she stays, she has to watch the man she loves spoon-feed his ex-wife until she takes her last breath. It is an impossible situation. So what does Taylor do? She goes back to the Cliff House. She walks into her bedroom, pulls out a suitcase, and starts packing. Yes, you heard me. Taylor Hayes is leaving Los Angeles. Again. She calls Steffi, who, by the way, is probably going to have a literal aneurysm when she hears all of this, and leaves a voicemail. She says she can't do it anymore. She says the pain, the drama, the constant losing. It's too much. She says she is leaving LA forever. I was screaming at the TV. Taylor, stop running away. Every single time things get hard, she packs a bag and moves to Europe or Africa or wherever she goes. But this time, I kind of don't blame her. I mean, what is she supposed to do? Stick around and wait for Sheila to die? And even after Sheila dies, will Deacon ever be the same? He will be drowning in grief and guilt. The relationship is tainted forever. The memory of their engagement will forever be tied to the moment Sheila collapsed and got a death sentence. There is no coming back from that. So Taylor is leaving. She is walking away from Deacon, walking away from her practice, walking away from Steffi and Finn. She is just done. And I am sitting here trying to process what the next few weeks of this show are going to look like. Because think about the ripple effects of this. Steffi and Ridge have been rallying the troops, trying to protect the family from Sheila's inevitable violent revenge. They have been terrified that Sheila is going to come after Taylor with a knife or a gun. But how are they going to react when they find out the big bad wolf is actually a dying woman with a brain tumor? Are they going to feel sympathy? Absolutely not. Ridge is probably going to pop a bottle of champagne. Steffi is going to say it's karma. But what about Finn? Finn is Sheila's biological son. He has spent the last 2 years trying to rid himself of her toxic presence. He finally pushed her away. But now, she is dying. Terminal. Inoperable. Is Finn going to be able to stay away? As a doctor, he knows exactly what that diagnosis means. As a son, despite all the trauma, is he going to want to say goodbye? Will Steffi even let him? I can already see the massive fights coming between Steffi and Finn. Steffi will forbid him from going to Sheila's deathbed, and Finn will feel this immense, conflicting guilt. This could literally tear their marriage apart all over again. And what about Brooke and Ridge? They have been so focused on sabotaging Katie and Bill's fashion event, but this news is going to rock the entire Forrester and Logan families. Brooke might actually feel a twinge of sympathy for Deacon. She knows how big Deacon's heart is, and seeing him sacrifice his own happiness to care for the woman who has terrorized them all is going to be incredibly complex. And let's talk about Deacon for a minute. Deacon Sharp is officially the most tragic character on this soap right now. He finally got his life together. He owns a successful restaurant. He reconnected with his daughter. He found a respectable, beautiful woman who loved him back. And now he is giving all of it up to be a hospice nurse for a woman who has done nothing but cause chaos. It is a beautiful, selfless act, but it is also so incredibly sad. He is going to watch her deteriorate. He is going to watch the woman he once loved lose her mind, lose her bodily functions, and eventually die. I just cannot believe the writers went there. I really can't. I keep thinking about that tumor. If the tumor is the reason Sheila has been so evil, does that absolve her of her crimes? In the eyes of the law? Maybe. In the eyes of the viewers? I don't know. I have hated Sheila for years. I have screamed at her. I have wished she would just go away. But seeing her lying on that hospital bed, pale, broken, and hearing that she has an inoperable mass in her brain, it made me feel sick. It made me feel sorry for her. And I hate that the writers made me feel sorry for Sheila Carter. But that is the magic of good soap opera writing, isn't it? They take a character you despise and they humanize them in the most devastating way possible. I am dreading the upcoming episodes, but I am also completely glued to my screen. I want to see Kimberlyn Brown act out this illness. She is such a powerhouse, and if this is truly her swan song, she is going to act the absolute house down. I want to see the conversations between her and Deacon in the dark of the night when the pain gets too bad. I want to see if she asks for Finn. I want to see if she tries to make amends, or if she stays bitter until the very end. And Taylor, man, I am just so mad about Taylor. I know the actress has been through a lot of transitions on the show, but to have her character just give up and leave town again feels like a disservice to her legacy. I wanted her to fight. I wanted her to stay and support Deacon through this, but I also understand the psychological toll it would take. She is a psychiatrist. She knows that she cannot fix this. She cannot heal a terminal brain tumor, and she cannot heal Deacon's guilt. I need to know what you guys think. Please drop your comments below. Are you as shocked as I am? Do you think the brain tumor is a cheap cop-out to redeem Sheila? Or do you think it's a brilliant, tragic twist? Are you mad at Taylor for running away? Or do you think she is doing the only sensible thing she can do in this impossible situation? And what do you think Finn is going to do? I am going to be watching the forums like a hawk tonight because I know the fandom is going to be absolutely split down the middle on this. Some people are going to be celebrating Sheila's impending demise, and others are going to be weeping for Deacon's broken heart. Okay, I need to go drink some water and try to calm down. My heart rate is still through the roof. This show is going to be the death of me, I swear. I will be back tomorrow with more updates, assuming I survive the emotional damage of whatever happens next. Until then, stay bold, stay beautiful, and for the love of God, don't throw surprise engagement parties at pizza places.